Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Betta Broad. I'm the campaign director of New Yorkers for Clean Power. Welcome. And the director of advocacy and organizing at the Association for Energy Affordability. I'm here with my dear colleague, Laura, please.
I'm Laura Schindel. I'm a senior organizer with Food and Water Watch. Thank you all for being here with us today.
We have an amazing turnout. Over 300 people from across the state came here to rally for New York Heat.
Let's get it done.
Governor Hochul included key parts of the New York HEAT Act in her executive budget. This is a huge deal. Governor Hochul has signaled that she's ready to take the next big step on climate. And she signaled that she's committed to delivering relief to New Yorkers across the state who are struggling to pay rising energy bills and who are suffering through fossil fueled extreme weather. Now we need Speaker Hasty to make the same commitment and put the HEAT Act in the one House budget.
We can't waste any more time. We have to transition now off of this outdated, dangerous, toxic, fracked gas system that is driving climate change. In the last year alone, we have suffered through poisonous air, through orange skies, through smoky air, through unhealthy conditions, through floods, through record-breaking heat waves. What more do we have to witness until we get off this dangerous system and transition to clean energy and clean heat now? What's worse is we are being asked to keep dumping billions and billions of dollars into this outdated system. We're pouring this money into the fracked gas system, which leads to utilities across the state raising rates for people who can't afford it. It's unacceptable. Some New Yorkers are going to see their energy bills go up by $75 a month.
That ain't right.
We have to get off the fracked gas system as quickly as possible, and we need to do it now.
The New York HEAT Act is the solution we need. It will kickstart our transition off of fracked gas and enable gas providers to invest in renewable heating instead. It will also end the $200 million in subsidies that we are paying every year to expanding the fracked gas system. Because by law, every house has to get connected to the gas system for free if it is near a gas main. And most importantly, it will get rid of the obligation to serve. Right now, every customer that asks for gas must get connected to gas by law to the fracked gas system. Getting rid of this gas guzzling system will be a huge boost to our transition to clean energy. By doing all of this, New York HEAT Act will reduce future gas rate hikes, and it will, like the ones pummeling New Yorkers right now across the state.
Governor Hochul included all of this in her executive budget. Woo! However, she left out one key part: additional protections for low-income families that are struggling to pay their energy bills every month. This is crucial. With the New York HEAT Act, utility bills will be limited to 6% of a family's income. This would save This would save families up to $75 a month on their energy bills. That's more money for food, for rent, for medicine, for other necessary things that families need.
Bottom line, we can't afford to stay on fracked gas. We need the legislature, we need Speaker Hasty to follow Governor Hochul's lead and put the HEAT Act in the budget.
Right, the Senate passed this last year, included it in their one House budget. We have 74 Assembly members, many of them here today, to stand up and fight for New York Heat in the one House budget. Speaker Hasty, what are you waiting for? The time is now. New York Heat!
New York Heat!
New York Heat!
New York Heat!
Now! New York Heat! Now!
Now!
Woo! All right! We are so excited to have so many incredible legislators here today. Woo! I love this enthusiasm. I love it. I love you guys. We are so excited to have incredible leaders here today. We are going to begin by our sponsor in the Assembly Member Fahey. Come on up.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you who are here. Just coming from a Safe Streets event, so if I start talking about streets instead of heat, you'll know, but please know how much I appreciate the continued advocacy, and I think it's immensely important that we also start with that thank you to the governor. Thank you, Governor, for including this in the budget. It was a major breakthrough. We have not seen this for 2 years, and it really elevates the entire conversation. As you know, we are now spending, in the rough numbers in the last decade or so, $500 billion in weather-related damages. So you pay now or you pay later. And from all reports, the UN on down, we are out of time. The climate crisis is upon us. The HEAT Act, I do believe, will start us down the right road on 3 major issues: transitioning us off the gas grid, ending the subsidization that we just heard for the 100-foot rule, and limiting the cost for our constituents. It's no secret. It is a big investment up front. Let's just admit that and recognize it. We need those investments, wind, solar, and more. Yes, they're expensive, but on the back end, it will save us billions, not just in costs, but also in preventing future climate crises. Proud to stand with all of you, and especially with our Senate colleagues who have moved this. We're determined to move this in the Assembly, but especially Senator Krueger, who has been my very patient sponsor in the Senate, and we will continue the efforts this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Fahey.
Next up, we're thrilled to welcome Senator Leah Webb. Give it up for Senator Leah Webb.
Let's go, Leah.
All right, no pressure. All right, good morning, everyone. What do we want?
Yeah.
And when do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Yeah.
And when do we want it?
Now.
Thank you all so much for traveling all across the state to deliver this important message. I am a proud co-sponsor of this important bill in the Senate. And as already has been said, this has been led in the Senate by our beloved Senator Liz Krueger, who wasn't able to be here today because she is currently leading a budget hearing on another important issue around healthcare. So I bring greetings on behalf of the both of us, and I'll just keep my message very short. When you talk about all of the benefits with the New York HEAT Act, I want to hone in on one piece in particular, and that is the savings that people will have in real time with regards to their utility bills. When you think about the weather conditions we're dealing with right now, And the fact that we have working families in 2024 still having to make decisions about, do you spend the limited money you have to put food on the table or pay your utility bill? We believe in the Senate, we believe in the legislature, that those kinds of decisions should not have to be made by working families anymore. And we have a responsibility, an obligation, and this New York HEAT Act takes us in the direction of not only helping to lower the ever-growing costs of our utility bills, but it also helps with the very real crisis we are in as it pertains to climate change and environmental hazards. And the speaker system is coming as I'm talking, so we're just gonna roll with it, you know? And so again, as I wrap up my comments here, hopefully, can y'all hear me? Okay. So as I wrap up my comments here, because we have a lot of great colleagues who are here to speak, I want to say how imperative it is that we pass the New York HEAT Act. When we were here last year, I remember having this conversation with colleagues when we had the Canadian wildfires and the smoke. We're literally walking outside and we can't even breathe our air. One of the questions I asked one of my colleagues on the other side, I said, well, now do you believe that climate change is real, right? And that we can actually do something about it. And so I lifted up to say that this act not only helps us in addressing the ever-growing cost of utility bills, it helps us to reduce greenhouse emissions. It does all of the things that we needed to do and more, but we have to pass it. And so I want to thank all of you for being here, because truthfully, if it wasn't for the advocates pushing for this to happen, not only would we have seen this in the governor's budget address, but we also would have seen it passed in the Senate, and now it's onward to victory. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Senator. Can people hear me in the back? A little better? Great. Next up, we'd love to introduce Assembly Member Sarah Hannah Shrestha.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? One more time for the New York HEAT Act. Let's hear it. My name is Sarah Hannah Shrestha. I am an Assembly member that represents Mid-Hudson Valley, where Central Hudson, our utility, is requesting for a 31% increase on the electricity delivery rate and 29% increase on the gas delivery rate. All over our state, we are seeing investor-owned utilities get rewarded for slowing down our energy transition and making the ordinary New Yorkers ratepayers pay the price for that slowing down. We cannot think about our climate crisis as just a question of renewables and emission targets. We have an obligation not to serve gas, but to serve justice. When we talk about transition, that means ratepayers cannot be on the hook for paying the price for our entire transition. We need these corporate utilities to understand that energy is a public good, and we are absolutely going to take this matter into our own hands and change the regulation to make sure that energy serves the public, the people, and not shareholders and not corporations. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Sarah Hannah, my Assembly member. Next up, we have Assembly Member Latrice Walker. Woo! And I'm so happy that we now have a mic that works.
Good afternoon, everybody. We want to begin by sharing our excitement that we see the New York HEAT Act is in the governor's proposal. So we know that one piece of the puzzle is already done. So now we have to show New Yorkers how the state assembly stands up for our most vulnerable communities all across the state of New York so that our seniors don't have to make difficult decisions as to whether or not to pay for their health care and their medication or pay their utility costs. It is time for us to recognize that regulation of utility companies should be a priority on the list of every legislator, and that we need to recognize that the monies need to stay in the hands of the ratepayers and not in the hands of big utility companies and corporations. And so we are saying that we need money for regulation and not for banks and corporations. I am Assemblymember Latrice Walker. Our community depends on you. Let's pass the New York HEAT Act now.
We have so many champions on the roster. We're going to keep flying through them. Next up, we have Senator Cordell Clear.
All right, it's been said already, but I have to say it again. The price for this needed change cannot come on the backs of the people who have been affected the most, impacted the most. Climate change, environmental racism affects communities of color and blacks by far more than anyone else. They should not now be affected once again and be the ones forced to pay the bill for this needed change for everyone. So we have to make sure that we get the change. I applaud the governor for putting it in her budget. However, we have to make sure that we do not bring more harm to our communities and that those who are most affected don't wind up bearing the brunt. It is not for corporations to gain. It is for our health, and it is for our communities and our future generations. So we are going to what? Pass the HEAT Act when? Now! Pass the HEAT Act when? Now!
Next up, we have a strong champion of the New York HEAT Act from the Bronx, Assemblymember Tapia.
Yes. I am from the Boogie Down Bronx, and I represent the 86th Assembly District. I am Yudelka Tapia, and it's my honor to be here fighting specifically because the New York HEAT Act is a bet on New York's future, and it will help us address energy affordability and fight climate change at the same time. The people of the Bronx spend disproportionate amount of their income on utilities, surpassing any other county of the state of New York. In some neighborhoods in my district, 40% of residents are energy burdened because they cannot pay their utility. If we pass NYHEAT now, this year, which we're gonna do, the average Bronx family would save around $84 every single month. Wow. $84 every single month, with some communities saving an average of $141. We also know that this is not just an economic issue. It is an environmental justice issue. The South Bronx has the highest asthma rate in the city.
That ain't right.
3 times higher than the national average. So they can't happen again. It cannot continue happening. The disparities in life expectancy between poor urban areas like the Bronx and wealthier neighborhoods are stark. They don't have that issue, guys. We do. If we do not act now, our residents will continue to struggle financially, and we will only exacerbate climate change. We cannot stand idly by. I am proud to stand with colleagues and community advocates in supporting this vital piece of legislation, we urge the passage of NYHEAT now to protect the Bronx residents and counteract the adverse effects of utility rate hikes across all of New York. So what do we want?
New York Heat!
What do we want?
New York Heat!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
Let's do this, guys.
Awesome. Next up, we have some late-breaking news from Assemblymember Eileen Gunther, who's here to speak.
Yeah! Ooh, late-breaking news.
Yeah, that's something. So my name is Assemblywoman Eileen Gunther. I represent an upstate New York community, a very low-income community, and the only thing I'm going to say, because there are a lot of people that are going to speak today, is what we need is a New York Heat Act now. Me and my colleagues, we're going to fight to make sure that people have warm homes. So we're with you, and thank you so much for coming and showing your support for this important bill. Thanks.
That's right! Yeah!
Thank you. Next up, we have Assemblymember Tony Simone.
Thank you. I'm Assemblymember Tony Simone. I represent the west side of Manhattan, Chelsea Hell's Kitchen. Look at all your beautiful faces. Let's give a round of applause for all the advocates here. It's cold outside. Let's turn up the heat. Let's make sure we pass the HEAT Act now. Thank you to the governor for including it in the budget. Now we need the Assembly to step up. Look, fracked fossil fuels are so 1990s. It's so in the past. It's time that we get past fracked fossil fuels. Everyone knows that Mother Earth is dying. You've seen it before our very eyes. What more evidence do you need? Flash floods, orange skies. It's not biblical disaster yet, but we're on the verge of it. We're almost too late. And while we passed great economic legislation in the last few sessions, we have way more to go.
That's right.
We need to cap energy bills for our poor working class. So this is the bill about economic justice, environmental justice, and most of all about saving our earth. So let's get with the program. I have faith our speaker and our members will come together and pass this consequential legislation to save our earth.
Next, we have a stalwart environmental champion, Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. The steps are crowded, and that's because everybody cares about our climate. Everyone here cares about our future. I'm Assemblymember Linda Rosenthal, Upper West Side, parts of Hell's Kitchen, and I'm here with a message from my constituents. Pass the New York Heat Act now!
Yeah!
We don't mince words on the West Side. They're like, I send you to Albany to get this done, and we must get this done. You know, we can all talk about weather events. We can all talk about how horrible it is. But New York State is part of the globe, and people around the world are doing what they can to fight climate change. This is one small step we need to take, and we will. And we're going to pass the New York Heat Act this year. Thank you, everyone.
Next up, we have another great champion, Assemblymember Anna Kellis.
I'm so glad to be here. You've seen us, all these legislators. We really want to be here, and we're in like 10 places. I think I may have 2 clones. I'm not sure. I haven't found them this morning yet, but I think they're at 3 other meetings. But this is where we need to be right now because we passed the CLCPA 2019. And we are here every single year to make sure that it's actually implemented. That's why we're here. Since 2019, when this was implemented, we have seen an increase of an additional $5 billion invested in this state by the utilities in natural gas infrastructure build out and maintenance. Exactly, which means we're not going in the right direction, which is why we're all here. Everybody here is here because our buildings are more than a third of all the greenhouse gases that we are emitting as a state. If we do not pass this, then we will not reach our goals, period, end of story. That is why this is important, and it's important now. Why? Because we have a deadline. We have a 2030 deadline. We know that without this bill, we are not going to reach it. Plain and simple. This entire bill needs to pass now. We have people who are getting bills monthly of more than $1,000 a month. And we know that low-income people are going to be the last people who are going to be able to get off the natural gas infrastructure, which means they will be carrying the greatest burden of all the fixed costs of those $5 billion that the utilities just put in. Not okay. Not okay. Not okay. We are saying it's not okay. It's not okay. And we have the solution right here in our hands, the New York HEAT Act that says no low-income and moderate-income family will pay more than 6%, and we will not subsidize oil and gas, natural gas build-out anymore. No more. We know the solution. Just do it. Right here. Right here. Pass the New York HEAT Act. Pass the New York HEAT Act. Woo! Thank you, everyone, so much.
Next, I'm thrilled to introduce my very own Senator, Jessica Ramos.
I'm New York State Senator Ramos, and I'm here to bring the heat. Listen, I represent a few neighborhoods in Queens, Jackson Heights, Corona, East Elmhurst, the most diverse place on the planet, who also happens to be an environmental justice community. Hurricane Ida kicked our butts, and unfortunately, we know that more storms are coming because we keep doing damage to our planet. We established the CLCPA. They're lofty goals, but we need a roadmap to get there. And I don't know about you, but I don't trust utility companies to figure out how to do it on their own. We, the people who suffer the consequences of not doing anything to fight climate change, have to tell the utility companies what it is they have to do to make sure that they comply with the CLCPA and protect our people. You know, the number one reason people call my office is because they have housing issues. The number two reason people call my office is because they need help applying for HEAP. Yep. Our community has been hurting for a very long time. My neighbors can't keep up with the high costs of utilities. The transition has to happen now. The transition has to happen in a way where we don't keep subsidizing those fossil fuel companies to expand. What we want is renewable energy. We want clean energy. We want battery storage. We want to end Asthma Alley in Queens. We want better health outcomes for our communities, and it starts with clean air and clean water. So thank you to everybody who's here today. Let's keep fighting and make the HEAT Act possible today.
Next up, we have Assembly Member Manny De Los Santos.
What do we want? What do we want? What do we need? What do we need?
New York HEAT.
Thank you. I want to take this time to thank the advocates. You are the real champions of this fight. Today, we send a message loud and clear. The message is loud and clear that the time to pass the HEAT Act is now. There will be no budget without the HEAT Act included on the budget.
That's right.
The HEAT Act put people first. It put family first. It put New Yorkers first. If we truly care about putting New Yorkers first, we must include the HEAT Act on the budget.
That's right.
I want to thank every colleague that is here on the Senate, on the Assembly side, because that shows our commitment, our dedication to this bill. But we know that this is just the beginning. We cannot stop now. We have so much work to do, and it begins today. Are you fired up?
Yeah!
Are you fired up?
Yeah!
I'm ready to go because we know that the New York HEAT Act is about environmental justice. It's about renewable energy. It's about putting people first, hardworking people first. This is why it is so critical that working class families are able to save some money in the utility bill. It is the right things to do. It is in our power, in the people's power, in the people's house to do just that. It is always the right thing to do what's right. And right now, it is the right time to do just that. Let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Next, we'd like to welcome Assemblymember Shimsky.
Thank you. This is a crazy, amazing crowd. Thank you so much to all of you for being here. And there's a reason why the crowd is so crazy amazing for this. And that's because the issues don't get bigger or the stakes higher than with the issues in the New York HEAT Act. I'm from the suburbs. Let me tell you, people are getting flooded out of their homes. Our roads are getting washed out. People are drowning on our highways whenever God sneezes. We need to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions big time. And what's one of the biggest emitters of climate change causing gas? It's not carbon dioxide. It's methane.
That's right.
Where is all of the methane coming from? Natural gas.
That's right.
We're never going to solve this problem unless we transition off of natural gas as quickly as possible. The second part of this, I have a district that's reputed as being fairly affluent. We are getting inundated with calls about people getting overwhelmed by their Con Ed bills. And you know what? It's not the people with the big houses who are calling the office. It's the people who live in the apartments. The middle class is getting to the point where they can't pay their utility bills anymore. The working class can't pay their utility bills anymore. The senior citizens, the people with disabilities on fixed incomes, they can't pay their utility bills anymore. We need a big step forward like the rate cap that is in the HEAT Act. I will fight like hell with all of my colleagues who are here and many who are not here to make sure we can move forward on this year. HEAT Act now!
HEAT Act now!
HEAT Act now!
Next up, we have Assemblymember Steve Otis.
Thank you all for coming. I'm going to give you a new chant. Targets are easy, transition is hard.
Oh, nice.
Targets are easy, transition is hard. Targets are easy, transition is hard. So,
Targets are easy, transitions are hard.
we did the easy part in 2019 by passing the targets, but there's a lot of work to do on implementation. If we don't make the transition through the HEAT Act, through many other pieces of legislation, we have Emily Gallagher here, all electric. Let's hear it for all electric. If we don't take action, we are going to lose our planet. With every storm, The damage is worse. We're losing our shorelines. We're losing people in floods. We have to take action. We have to pass the HEAT Act one last time. Targets are easy, transitions are hard. Targets are easy, transitions are hard. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next up, Assemblymember Harvey Epstein. Harvey!
All right, folks, you've heard from a lot of us. You have one job in the next month and a half. Make sure that the Senate and the Assembly do not take this out of the budget. The governor put it in. She did the hard work right there. We want to applaud her for it. Now we need to make sure that all our colleagues ensure that this stays in the budget so we can get it passed in March. Are you going to make sure we keep it in the budget? Yeah! Are you going to make sure that we keep it in the budget? Yeah! If we do this together, we can get it done this year. New York HEAT has to happen this year because the climate crisis is among us. We have no opportunity but to act. Thank you.
And now we've got Senator Jose Serrano.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who came here today. I bring greetings from East Harlem and the South Bronx, two communities most affected by climate change, by pollution, and the environmental injustice that it has caused. I will be very brief because it's all been said. So grateful to all of my colleagues for fighting for the New York HEAT Act. It will bring real justice to our communities, and it would also bring the health, it will address the health disparities that have plagued the South Bronx and East Harlem and other communities across New York State for generations. Thank you.
I agree with everything everyone said already. And that's it. No, I'm just kidding. Look at this coalition. This is what New York is all about. This is about protecting our planet, about actually taking action to preserve our climate. And I think it's been said already, we set the goals several years ago. Now we have to take action. And New York HEAT Act is exactly the action that we need. It's already kind of a partial win that the governor included in her budget. And now we have to make sure that it stays in the budget so we can all vote on it and pass the New York HEAT Act.
That's right. Yeah!
So with that, I want to thank all the activists out here. You may have to keep coming back. Don't be strangers to Albany. This is where we pass our state laws. But keep at it, and eventually we will win. Not only for ourselves, but our families, our kids, grandkids, and the entire planet. Thank you very much for being here.
All right. Still going. We have so much support for the HEAT Act. We've got another champion, Assemblymember Raga.
Let's go, Steve.
What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? Now! I'm Assemblymember Stephen Raga. I represent District 30 in Queens. Is anybody from Jackson Heights, Woodside, Elmhurst here at all? I'll represent if not. It's good seeing everybody, and we're all here together, working in collaboration to make sure in 2023 we make sure that no New York resident has to make a choice between having heat or having to eat. It's wrong. It is wrong. And we are here to make sure we pass it because in the New York HEAT Act, it's going to safely transition our families from gas into electricity with no delay, with the minimum cost, and we need that for our New York families. It is common sense. It's also going to ensure there are protections in doing so for construction sites, and also ensure that New York leads the way and hitting our
our target goals for environmental justice for New York State. So I'm so happy that we are working on the Assembly and on the Senate side to pass and vote on this year. Thank you to all the advocates that came down today. And I'm so looking forward to the day that because of our collective effort, we pass the New York HEAT Act this year for cleaner rent and for lower bills for our New Yorkers. So let's do it, and happy to see everybody today.
We're coming in the home stretch, everybody. Next, we have Senator Kristen Gonzalez.
How are we doing? Are we feeling good? That's right. Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen Gonzalez. I represent District 59. Woo! Which is, we got Queens in the house? Yeah! We got some Brooklyn in the house? Yeah! How about Manhattan? Yeah! All right. We're working on it. But, you know, representing a tri-borough but waterfront district, I talk to neighbors every day in environmental justice communities who are affected by the worsening climate crisis. So when I look at this crowd, when I look at all of you, what I see is hope for the future. And I want to shout out all of the organizers and activists who have been fighting this fight for years. And then I also want to shout out all of the young people who I see in the crowd today. Yeah! Because the fight for our environment, the fight for a greener future is an intergenerational one. Ooh. I think I'm losing the mic. All right. It's an intergenerational one, but it's a fight to secure our future. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for fighting this fight. I know with all of the electeds who have shown up today that we have the momentum, but we still need each and every one of you. Because now that we've gotten this, in the Senate, we have it in the Assembly introduced, and in the governor's budget, now is not the time to give up. Now is the time to talk to your reps, to keep on growing our movement and ensure that this is the year we pass the New York HEAT Act. So thank you all so
much. Last but certainly not least, of all of our legislator champions, I am thrilled to introduce the woman who got the All-Electric Building Act passed in the Assembly last year. An incredible friend and champion of our climate and public health, Assembly Member Emily Gallagher.
Thank you, everybody. It is so great to see you. It's so great to see you. I've been standing here with a huge smile on my face because this climate movement is family to me. We are family, and we are struggling to survive here on a planet that is begging us to change our patterns. And at this point, it is absolutely absurd that New York State requires us to fund fossil fuels, which is the status quo of what New York HEAT is amending. So it is beyond time to eliminate this, to pass New York HEAT, and to stay the course. And I say this because we all learned last year that the fossil fuel industry has no boundaries when it comes to manipulation. And they will use your ratepayer money to fund misinformation campaigns all across our state. And it is going to take every single one of you talking to every single legislator over and over and over again to remind them that this is about more than one company's profit. This is about more than a stakeholder's yacht. This is about our future on Earth as a human race. And this is the most important thing that we can fight for right now. So I want to thank you all for being out here and for being in the streets with me for years and years fighting this battle. And not just knocking on legislators' doors, but showing up at those building codes hearings, showing up at those rate cases, at all of the closed-door meetings that we are allowed to testify at to hold the fossil fuel industry feet to the fire that they are creating. Because we deserve health, safety, and economic justice. And all of that is part of environmental justice. I am so grateful to be a part of this movement. And I'm so grateful to every single person who has come to Albany and who is here today and who will come in the future, because this battle just is beginning and we are going to win. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. I love that passion. I have chills right now. I don't know about you all, but we are going to win. And next, last but definitely not least, we have Soraya Vasquez from the 6th Street Community Center. We know how important it is to raise up youth voices because it's their future we're fighting for.
Hello, my name is Soraya. I am 16 years old. I am living in the Bronx, and I'm here with 6th Street Community Center Teen Climate Justice Program. As New Yorkers, we deserve a safe environment and deserve to have access to affordable utilities, regardless of our background. Burning gas in homes creates an increase in air pollution and can cause asthma, heart disease, and other health issues. I am from the South Bronx. It's a predominantly BIPOC area and one of the poorest areas in New York. I come from an area surrounded by 4 major highways. We have the highest asthma rates in the nation. In the Bronx, we are not looking forward to winter. We have buildings that have record high rates of heat and water-related violations that are never addressed. A man named Peter Henry, who lives in a building ranked top 10 in the city for heat and water-related complaints to 311, said, on the coldest day, they won't have heat. When it's not cold, they have lots of heat. When I think of climate change, I think of the future and what might come out of us taking action. I think it's scary when I think about if there is an actual future. Am I wrong to think sometimes, what is the point? No, because as a teenager, I am tired of being gaslit by politicians and fossil fuel companies who don't care. Everyone here is working their butts off to do what is right for our planet and my future and everyone else's. Myself and my friends' families are struggling with having food in our houses because the rent is too damn high. And so are our bills. I hate that my parents have to struggle in the first place. This is not fair. We need the Senate and the State Assembly, especially Coral Heisty, to pass the New York HEAT Act, because this is not fair to people who are struggling, have health issues, and have a family. Teens who are turning into adults and finally stabilizing for a home, just people who are trying their best to live and be happy. And having people pay crazy amounts to live is not the way. Thank you.
Heat Act now!
Heat Act now! Heat Act now! Heat